Hola! New to playing Lurdusaurus? I got you. Let's start with the basics. This sea cow looking thing is a semi-aquatic herbivore, meaning that it can go on land and water. However, it is slower on land than it is in water, so be aware of your surroundings and always have an escape route to water in mind. Lurdus can only safely eat sea plants like this one, and these ones. Anemones are okay to eat too, but currently they don't give as much food as they used to, so it's not really worth seeking these out when you're past 3.0 growth. When it comes to starfish, stay away. They will give you negative bias and can cause you to become sick. Some starfish are okay to eat, but honestly not worth seeking out since they don't give much food. It's best to sniff the starfish to see whether it's safe or not, since this pop-up will tell you. Also, do not eat land plants. They also give negative bias and can give you food poisoning. The current scent system can be misleading to new players, since dangerous items to eat will be highlighted in the same way that actual food items will highlight. Lurdu has 3 abilities. Left mouse button does a thumb swipe, which is its basic attack. It doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but is still decent enough to use when you're tail riding in a fight. This attack can be used both on land and in water. Next, holding right mouse button while running does a charge, which deals knockback and a decent amount of injury and regular damage. This ability is versatile, as it's super useful during fights, and also even more useful for getting away. Charging only consumes AP, and even without points in persistence, you can do at least 3 charges, and then run normally to regen your AP to then keep charging away. Your turn rate is slower while charging, so make sure your surroundings are open enough to charge safely. It can be easy to accidentally charge into rocks during fights, or off of cliffs if you're not aware. This ability can only be used on land. Last but not least is its dart. To dart, hold and let go right mouse button while in water. This ability is similar to its land charge, but way better. Darting can help you cover huge distances and also be monumental in fights. When darting through someone, you do a significant amount of injury and regular damage. Dart fighting can be difficult to learn since you will also have to learn how to strafe properly. So if you're a beginner, I recommend learning how to use dart for mobility and evasion first. If you want to learn more about dart fighting, I will be making a more in-depth guide to dart fighting and strafing as Lurdu in the future. When touching any sort of ground surface underwater, Bottom Walker activates. This essentially gives your Lurdu a few buffs. Overall, pretty useful during fights or when traveling since it can help your Lurdu not only dart further, but also recover much quicker when stamina and AP are low. I'm not sure if this counts as a passive ability, but Lurdu's breath bar doesn't deplete as fast as other dinos. Even with no points and strong lungs, you can stay underwater for a decent amount of time. Now I'm gonna show y'all some useful and beginner friendly builds with a bonus meme build at the end. First up is my favorite, speed combat with a little bit of survival. This build is for the players that enjoy PvP, but prefer to be mobile speedy water missiles. It's also versatile, useful for solo and group players. Starting with the speed tree, you want to max out basically all of the talents on here. I left sure-footed out since powerful legs and nimble-footed are more important to have in fights. These 2 talents increase your jump height and turn rate, which is essential for the jump turn technique used in combat. As you grow, I do recommend putting points into sure-footed, since any boost in land mobility is important to increasing your chances of survival. On the combat tree, you want to go strong lungs down to bruiser, then up to slippery. Brawler and bruiser increase how much damage and injury you do. Combining these with thick skull greatly improves how much damage you do when darting through something. Thick skull is one of the few water exclusive talents on the combat tree, so it will not affect how much injury and damage your land charge will do. Strong lungs, slippery, and persistence essentially help your Lurdu reduce the cost of using its resources. Persistence and strong lungs reduce AP and breath costs when attacking/darting. When grabbed by a Mosa, slippery will reduce how much thrash damage you take and also reduce how much AP it will cost to dart out of the Mosa's mouth. This is essential to surviving a Mosa attack. On the survival tree, I included these talents because Forager is extremely important to have. Food drain at larger growths is a huge pain to deal with, so having this talent maxed out will help 3.0 plus Lurdu gameplay be less of an eating simulator. Overall, this build is the most reliable as it will make you speedy, strong, and set you up for success at surviving larger growths. However, the main issue is that your Lurdu will not be very tanky, so choose your fights carefully. The next build I recommend is Combat Survival with the most necessary speed talents. This is for the players that enjoy PvP, but prefer to be more tanky. It's also for players that usually play in groups or a dedicated friend group. Starting at the speed tree, you want to max out only these 6 talents. These are the bare minimum speed talents you need to decently survive as a Lurdu. Next, move down the left side from Slippery down to Bruiser. Just like the previous build, these combat talents will set your Lurdu up not just to hit hard in land and water, but be able to use its abilities as optimally as possible. On the survival tree, Weather Resistance, Tough Stomach, and Forager will help your Lurdu deal with its environment. Healing, Strong Bones, Thick Hide, and Constitution will boost your chances of survival in fights and also recovering from them if you survive. Overall, this build is great for those that like to take the lead in fights whenever your herd encounters danger. While you may be big, strong, and tanky, the lack of specialization in speed talents does leave your Lurdu very vulnerable on land, because with no swiftness or nimble-footed, any land dino can easily catch up and stay behind you. However, in water, you will be perfectly fine. The final build that I recommend, especially for brand new, fresh out of the Steam store page beginners, is Speed Survival. This build is for the players that prefer to avoid PvP or provide support to more PvP-oriented group members. Starting with the speed tree, you will see that not every speed talent has a point in it. While I do recommend that you eventually max out every talent on the speed tree, I chose to delegate some points to go down the left side from Long Runner, ending at Persistence. This is because in order to get out of danger quick, being able to dart/charge away and continue doing so, with the help of Persistence giving you more AP to work with, is way more important to have in the beginning. Over time, you will be able to put points into Powerful Legs and Sure-Footed. Then, on the survival tree, you basically want to max out everything on here. These 7 survival talents will ensure your Lurdu can be tanky and as resilient as possible to anything you may come across. When it comes to combat, while you may not have much to work with, Constitution, Strong Bones, and Thick Hide will help your Lurdu shine as a supportive role in your group, since these talents will allow you to tank some hits if necessary. Thick Skull and Persistence will come in handy in supporting more combat-oriented Lurdus in dart fights. While this is an excellent build to have while you learn the basics of the game, it isn't very flexible. You will have to rely on other group members to have the communication level needed to strategize through fights. Your damage output is significantly weaker, so running away from fights is usually the best choice, especially if you're alone. Now I know I said the previous build was the final build, but I wanted to include a meme build in here, because I know some of y'all like to be a little goofy, me included. So behold, the Land Lurd build. This atrocity of a build has nothing that makes Lurdu a Lurdu. No dart, no aqua, no thick skull, no slippery, no strong lungs. Just everything you need to be okay on land. Not even good, just okay. These speed talents help with navigating hilly terrain and making sure you have enough movement speed and stamina to outrun the bigger carnivores. And everything down here in the combat and survival trees will help boost your damage, health, and ability to eat stuff you're not supposed to eat. Thank you, Tough Stomach and Forager. But even so, you can't eat trees forever, so you're kinda stuck having to go to shallow waters to get some sea plants anyways. This one definitely won't be easy to learn the game with, but it's super funny if you manage to pull it off. I know this isn't the perfect landlord build, so for the meme build connoisseurs, I encourage you to expand upon this, and if you want, share with me what you came up with. Alright, now go on and play.